friends, what's up? How's it going? Thanks for stopping by for today's video. Oh my gosh, you guys, I have 4 pages of notes in my notebook and like 300 and something highlights. I'm really gonna try, even though I know this video is gonna be long, I'm really gonna try to do my best because there's so much I wanna talk about. And because I'm not sure, I'm kind of sure, but I'm not sure, but I think this is the last book. So, you know, I think we're done here and I'm just so sad to be leaving this world. The book we're gonna talk about today is Red Hot Harmony. Say that 10 times fast. Every time I go to say that, I can't say it. Red Hot Harmony by Nnbritt. So I would recommend reading all of it. I'm just that kind of reader. I like to go back to the beginning when I can with series because I feel like you get the full experience then. And there's a lot to Dante. And so you don't want to miss out on all that stuff. And so I would highly recommend that you go back to the beginning before you go on to Dante's portion of this series. I also did videos on all of those books, so I will include them in the description box below. You know I love Shattered Chords, but if you haven't read any of those, just keep in mind, I never want to give spoilers, but I do talk in detail about the books. So here we go, last book. So sad. I could not wait to get this book because if you've seen my previous video or read the previous book, you know that it kind of ends in a cliffhanger. And I was like, oh my God, in the most perfect spot, let me tell you. I have a love-hate, as all of us readers do, love-hate relationship with cliffhangers. But when it's something like this where the author and Britt followed up like really quick, it was a couple weeks, maybe it was a month, I don't even know if it was that long, I'm okay with a cliffhanger. The book picks up right where the previous book left off, and Camille is like hightailing it out of the house where the party was. Well, actually they were at Frankie and Cassie's house, and she is like, oh my God, and she hightails it out of there, and Dante's running after her. I wanted so much for this book. My expectations, because of how I felt about them, were so high, and I couldn't wait to see, oh, look at me, stop it. I couldn't wait to see where Nat was gonna take their journey. Dante has been through so much, and he's almost like a toddler learning how to walk. He's figuring out at 39 years old, like, what is his life going to be? It is nothing like it was, and he doesn't want it to be. I can't believe that, like, I just almost am speechless about him. So Camille on the other end, as we know, is like, I don't know if I want to get involved in all this. Like, she's got her hands full, but she's like, I don't know about you. Like, I got a daughter to worry about. She's 15. I understood Camille heart and soul, 100% in this book. But also I was like, girlfriend, hello, look at him. Look where he is. Look where he's been. Look where you know he can go. It's okay. Go for it. To me, Shattered Chords was all about the slow burn. The Dante finding his footing. Dante figuring out what the F next, you know? And then meeting Camille and like really slowing down. Like, he was already like trickling along every day, but like it made him pause and take notice, and really was very slow burn, and in so many different aspects, not just as a trope for this book. Book 2, Red Hot Harmony, is very much about discovery and growth and building. As Camille is running out of Frankie and Cassie's house, Dante runs after her, good man, and he's like, you know, he catches up with her, and she's like, what are you doing? Why did you do that? And he's like, Mama, you and I aren't meant to be friends. And when he dropped that mama line, oh my God, I was a freaking goner. I was already a goner. I was tripping over myself. I was so much a goner. When he called her mama, it was the most sweetest term of endearment, I think, ever, in the most beautiful way. And my kids, I was never mommy when they were little. I'm kind of mommy now when they want something. Mama just, clicks that little spot in my heart. So to hear him call her that and for him to recognize that part of her, stop it. Freaking loved it. Dante finally gets Camille to agree to go on a date with him. And I was sitting there tapping my heels going, Camille, get with the program. Girlfriend, I'm on your side. I am with you 100%. But she was taking little tiny steps where I wanted to take big leaps. So she finally agrees to go on a date. And oh my God, reading him, see her, and him getting ready for the date. And so this is from Dante's perspective when he goes to pick her up. Then the front door of Camille's house swung open and she stood there in the tiny porch, surrounded by greenery and flowers and light pouring out from the living room. Her dress was dark red, burgundy. Might have planned that. With a revealing top, thick straps, a matching belt to highlight the thinness of her waist, and a flowing skirt that reached her knees. She raised her hand by way of greeting, turned around, shouted something to Allie, whose silhouette lingered in the background, and then closed the door and started towards my car. And I, like a dumb F, continued to stare at her, watching the wind ruffle the fabric around her legs, exposing the shape of her thighs. My hands already knew how she felt. My tongue did too, but there was something sensual and primal and delicate in the way she wore that dress. Oh my God. Dante has been reduced down to literally the little things. Oh, say hi, Rue. Oh, hi, sweetheart. I know. Oh, she's irritated at me. She wants to come sit on my lap and I won't let her. He's been reduced down to super appreciating the little things. He was on death's door. He takes notice of all those things and he is hyper focused on her because he's falling in love with her. I loved how attentive he was, and Nat didn't even have to tell us in her words. I felt it with her words. And a little bit later, it was like I was seeing her for the first time, and I had seen her wearing a stunning piece for Frank's party, but that was before we agreed to take the next step, before I knew for a fact that one day I'd get to have all of that because she was giving it willingly. I'm sorry, I blurted out, realizing I'd effed up every single rule of dating etiquette. Hadn't walked up to the door, hadn't opened the car door for her, hadn't complimented her looks. I should have. I motioned at her house. Probably, but I'm a big girl and I can find my way to the vehicle. She smiled and then got into the Camaro. Oh my God, I loved it. The tension was perfection. So they go out on a date, they go to dinner, and then they go take a walk on the ocean, at the ocean. And if you remember, this book takes place in LA. So of course they're walking along the Pacific Ocean. I loved how Nat brought in LA and the surrounding suburbs and the ocean and PCH and Malibu and all, or did she say PCH or the 101? And don't beat me up if those are the same thing. I've only been there twice. And it was a long time ago, so I don't necessarily remember, but I loved how LA was like another character in the book, and I ate all that up. So they go to this restaurant and then they go take a walk on the beach. And Dante says something that just hit me. How long has it been since you've seen the ocean? I asked, curious. A long time. How come? You live less than an hour away. She sighed deeply, and I felt the rise of her chest as it expanded as my own body buzzed from this new type of closeness. I don't know, I guess I just got lost. I thought about her answer, measuring it against my own journey, and realizing I was lost too. Oh, they are both lost in their own way. Dante with the stroke, his career on hold, or is it? What now? Taking his life literally day at a time and not knowing where, kind of like it's all new to him. His sobriety and living life that way is all new to him. But he has hope for the first time when he meets Camille, and he can see something different, and he can see a path starting to form, and he wants it. This series is heavy in that it deals with emotional, real life issues. Frankie has his own story that is heavy in times, and the way Nat writes it is very authentic. And I appreciate the deep, dark dive into emotion and life, blessings and curses and situations that real stories like hers bring to the table. Those are the ones I love the best. Camille is lost and stuck at the same time. She has focused completely on raising her daughter, being a single parent, and doing it on her own. She hasn't changed anything in her life except the fact that Allie just keeps getting older. Where is her life going? She is parenting alone and always worried she's doing it wrong. Life is moving regardless of whether she is an active participant in her life or not. It is a struggle. Allie is rebelling. Allie is pushing boundaries. She wants to start living her life. Camille is trying to keep her safe. She says, the tension between us was real and palpable, and I realized that I had just done exactly what I'd been trying to avoid doing altogether. As a parent of a teenage daughter, I felt this so much. I am lucky. My kids are amazing kids, and they all need needed to be parented in 3 very different ways because they are their own person. And, you know, when you start to parent, you have your own baggage that you bring to the table, and that bleeds in. And I felt when Camille was recognizing that in herself so much. And you want to keep your kids safe. So her talking about the tension between them and doing the things she exactly didn't want to do, as a parent, I felt her 100%. At one point, Dante goes to visit her at work. And it was really cute. I could just picture it perfectly. And this is what he says. Multiple gazes swept over in my direction, all eyes wide and a little terrified, mouths hanging open. And I realized how ridiculous I looked with flowers in one hand and a puppy on a leash in the other. Ridiculous and domesticated, something I never believed I'd be. It's really cute. And the thing I also loved about Dante is that these little surprises that he would get when he would be acting a certain way or do something that was so not in his nature before, but he felt himself doing now, and it surprised him. And it just added to his allure and made him very endearing. So much of how Dante acts and does in this book is him going with his new sober instinct and the want that he has of Camille and wanting to be with her and how she makes him feel. The tension between them, I was on the edge of my seat. I couldn't wait, and I loved when they would touch each other. And now hold on. Yes, there is steam in this book. It's chef's kiss. But the build of them finally like holding hands or touching, because we knew that Dante would have just gone in and taken. In his previous, before the stroke, he would have just gone you know, had sex with her. Like, sure, he might have put in some effort and wined her and dined her, but that would have been it. This is so completely different for him. When they did finally, like, give some affection to one another, it was because they couldn't help themselves holding back any longer, and each other quieted, and being around each other quieted the voices that they both had in the back of their heads talking at them constantly, and went with their wants and feelings that were instinctual. Sorry, Macy just kicked the tripod. That were instinctual because they were meant to be together. They took note of every decision they made thoughtfully to move towards one another. Dante learning to listen to his heart and mind and not just go with the impulse that his previous addict behavior would have made him. He would have gone with whatever he wanted. And being sober, he learned to control the impulses that he had and learned to read Camille and watch Camille for what she needed and wanted, because he knew he wanted to give it to her. And he needed to do that to give her the space for her to make the choices to turn towards him as well. Because she's got her own stuff going on, her own voices in the back of her head. Camille talks about, and Dante, he's friggin' sexy, and he's had a lot of sex and been with a lot of women, and he has the fame and persona that he has. You know, it's something that holds Camille back for sure, which, you know, we of course understand. And she hasn't had the relationships, no, not even relationships, let's back it up. She has not had the quantity sexual partners that Dante has had, of course. It's been a long time for both of them. And I was just waiting for them. I just couldn't wait for them to finally get down to business, because I was so excited with them. I just couldn't wait to see how it was gonna go. So they're driving home from their date, and this is from Camille's perspective. His hand was resting on the gear lever when he turned to face me, a pose indicating he'd leave if I asked him to. His expression said otherwise. There was a longing in his eyes, and I suspected he saw the same longing in me, because the idea of going inside my empty house alone terrified me. Do you want to come in for a second? My voice shook a little when I spoke. A beat of taut silence passed. I don't know if that's such a good idea. His breath met my cheeks, and I felt them flush. Heat washed over me, head to toe, wringing out each and every nerve ending. The reaction was so unexpected, I lost track of what I was going to say, of all the reasons I was going to give him. My chest swelled. Don't do this if you don't mean it, Camille. Dante leaned forward, his mouth nearing mine. His plea hung in the warm air between us, substantial. Can't you just envision this? Like them trying to figure out. And then a little bit later, I let the keys fall into the cradle of his palm. The decision was now his. He unlocked the door. We lingered there as if unsure what to do next, as if our whole lives depended on this one singular moment, and perhaps they did. I saw him swallow, the slow bob of his throat, the rapid thrum of the vein in his neck, a flicker of struggle in his gaze. Then he raised his arm above my shoulder and pushed the door open. His body nudged mine back, and we awkwardly tumbled inside. The porch light outlined his silhouette as we shuffled deeper into the room until he paused to shut the door, plunging us into momentous obscurity. My heart thudded against my breastbone. I felt his hands on my face, large, warm, calloused. I don't suppose you know what you're doing. He smelled of watermelon and expensive cologne. Such a strange combination, but on him it was good. Not really. Me neither, he confessed. Oh my God. I loved the tension between them all the time. And it was the tension of them being so in tune to one another and so in tune to the seriousness that their relationship would be if they let it be, and how they knew that this was their person and they didn't want to make the wrong decision or make the wrong move or move too fast. I loved how the LA wildfires really felt like almost like another character in the book, and it really did provide the uncertainty that went along with their story, more than just the slow burn in the previous book. That kind of how I felt Nat was trying to give us that. To me, in this book, they represented uncharted territory because you never knew where the fire was going to move. The element of fire being all around you and the way Nat writes about it in the book just gave me a newfound respect and empathy for people that live there and live in a place like the West Coast that is dealing with this all the time. And not that I didn't have that before, but getting more and knowing that it was really authentic. Of course, at some point, Dante is confronted with his sobriety. And I knew we had to get that at some point. This book is not rainbows and butterflies. Dante is complicated. Camille is complicated. I love that. So it's like I wanted it to happen, but didn't want it to happen. I kind of wanted it to happen because I wanted to get over it and get through it. And I wanted Dante to get over it and get through it. And yet I didn't want it to happen because I didn't want him to go through it. Or Camille have to go through if he fell off the wagon. So he is confronted several times. I appreciated very much how it was part of the story. It made me take pause, and having grown up around somebody, I have a healthy respect for addiction like that in my small corner of my life. And to know that he was working through it and trying not to go back, I had a lot of respect for him as far as that goes, and how he realized how it affected the other people in his life. A heavy tide of despair rose in me. I felt it slipping away. Everything we built, everything I'd worked for, her, Allie, my sobriety. I fucked up and I can't take it back because it's already done. Just tell me what you want me to do to fix this. You shouldn't have broken it in the first place. Camille's voice pitched high. She took a step back, disappearing into the house. Do you want me to beg? I followed her inside. I will. Do you want me to get on my fucking knees? I will for you. She pressed her palm to her mouth as if to prevent the words from getting out. There was a small shake of her head and a gaze that cut me in half, and I didn't understand why I did what I did, but I kneeled. The dull crack of my bones against the floorboards felt almost liberating. Behind me, the front door was still wide open, and the light was streaming in from the corridor, framing Camille's silhouette with a golden shimmer, and for a second, I thought she looked like an angel. A green-eyed, red-haired, pissed-off angel who'd come to save me, to give me salvation. Oh my God. And showing this kind of submission didn't feel horrible or unseemingly or wrong. Please stand up, Dante, she whispered. Please say you'll give me another chance. Please stand up. I need another chance. Oh my gosh. I had, like this, it affected me. And then another part in the book, I was a mess. That scene goes on to them continuing to argue and then have some intimacy because they're both needing connection. It didn't wipe the slate clean. And this is from Dante's perspective. A few moments later, she pulled down her nightgown to cover up her thighs and rolled to the side to face the footboard, her back to me. This act, an obvious display of hurt and disregard, prompted me to remember what we'd agreed on a little while ago when I showed up at her door. I promised her that I'd leave, which would only prove that I was a coward and I didn't want to be one anymore. I'd hid from each and every problem behind the haze of drugs and booze, and it was time to stop hiding. So instead of taking an easy way out, instead of running off, I scooted over, pressed my chest to Camille's back, wrapped my arms around her, and said, I'm sorry I effed up, but I'm not leaving you here alone. She didn't respond. Shortly after, tired and sated, we both drifted off. It's not even a come to Jesus moment between them. It's like one of the lowest moments in their relationship. And it was so pivotal because here he was on his knees and trying to give her what he thought she needed and opening, just flailing open for her. And she's pissed and she's hurt, but she recognizes what he's doing, but she's pissed and she's hurt. When he scooted over and put his arms around her in the bed, oh my God. I knew right there that my trust and my crush and my love for him was very well placed. And I was like, come on, Camille, come on. Look, he is showing up for you here. This book is about addiction, fame, being a single parent, sobriety, learning to live a sober life, being surrounded with the things that trip you up when you're trying to live that life. Expectation, not only what you have on yourself, but what the world expects of you, what your family expects from you, and how tangled of a web that is. It's about building a life with new perspective that you have for whatever reason. Dante about having literally a life-altering stroke. And what does his life look like now? Camille realizing her daughter, Allie, is 15. She's not going to be at home forever. Facing challenges, whether you're alone or with somebody, your partner, your best friend. It's about forgiveness and being able to face the truth of your actions and apologize on a deep, soulful level, and earning that forgiveness and giving that forgiveness. It's about new normal, whether that's in love or in your friendships, and it's about family and belonging. I hope that's enough for you because wow, it was certainly enough for me. Camille says this about Dante and I just loved it. But he was also human. I glimpsed at some of his humanity yesterday, and God, for once, I loved seeing him without the walls he erected around himself to protect his real identity. I love seeing him just be like everyone else without the glamour of fame. I love that he dedicated so much time to Allie. I love that he listened to me. I love that he paid attention. I love that he was here regardless of how we'd parted the night before things had gone straight to hell. I loved the thought knife through me, nearly cutting my mind in half. I didn't believe in the possibility that I could have that, what Cassie and Frank had, or what my parents had, and because I'd lost all faith in the fairy tale, however distorted it was in my case. I didn't see it until it was pretty much shoved in my face, my own tattooed Prince Charming. Oh my God, so good. Let me know if you have read any of the Encore series. I would love to hear your thoughts. While you're here, I would love for you to subscribe and consider giving the video a thumbs up. If you like it, it really does help my channel. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, guys. Oops, gotta run. Macy is barking ferociously at somebody. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you very soon.